John, it's good to have you this morning.
Good morning Nigerians, it's good to be here.
Now, talking about the nation's economy, whenever there is a problem, the first thing to do is to check the root cause and then find the possible solution to all the problems we have at hand. So, I'd like to begin by asking, how did we get here economically to start with?
Okay, I think we got here because year in, year out, once courage is absent from the art of leadership, crisis creeps into the community. And when you talk about crisis, the best way to describe it is economic. Once there's economic crisis in the community, you just discover that it extends to every other aspect of our life. So I think it's not a subject of whether people in authority do actually not know the right thing to do. But again, the courage to do the right thing is a major challenge in and out of government. And I ask a very simple question anytime we have an opportunity to have a conversation around our economy. And it's very simple. How do you expect only one aspect of your economy to work? For instance, if power is not working, if the manufacturing industry is challenged, if employment or unemployment is an issue, then how do you expect the naira to actually gain strength? So it's about a universal principle of how you do one thing is how you do all things. So as we are now, it's not the subject of whether we are here to actually talk about the solutions. Everybody, ask an average person walking on the street. Nigerians are brilliant people. It's been confirmed again and again. But the disconnect between your brilliance and the result is the subject of courage, which is lacking both in and out of power.
As a matter of urgency, what do you think can be done as fast as possible such that in a month's time our naira will be stabilized and we'll have maybe below 1,000 naira? Okay,
first is that just the same way I opened, but I'm going to say it in a different way so that we have a clear understanding of what we are facing. If you do not believe in your country, you can never believe in your currency. And once your currency fails the test of faith, then there's crisis. Now, what led to where we are now is a subject of, oh, okay, we are not producing. We have heard that story of, oh, but if you check our import really, compared to the reality of we have 200 million people, our import level is something that is reasonable. Our export may be a question. But having said that, the belief of the people in Naira, and this started with the Nigerian government, even the Nigerian government seems not to believe in the Nigerian currency. If we believe in our currency, there's no need for us to be calculating our import duties in dollar. Believability question. Who's in Nigeria today charge in dollars? There are so many vehicles in Apapa now. The people cannot clear it because dollar has risen. What is exactly our problem? And because believability question started with the government, it moves to the middle class. Who are the middle class? People who can still feed 3 times. You know what they've been doing? They've been hoarding dollars. The little naira they have, they go to Aboki to buy dollar. They put it in domiciliary account. And everybody is hoarding because there's a question of believability. The first thing we can do now, like now, that does not need any prayer point, that does not need God forbid, is for us to talk senses to ourselves, starting from the government, that okay, we believe in our currency. See, there's a communal conspiracy against Nigeria, and it involves everybody. I speak with my friends abroad. Anytime the naira fall, they are happy. Why? Because they have become sudden millionaires. So everybody in the community, both in government and out of government, we seem to be rascally responsible with the way we behave in our country and believe in our currency. So now if there's a single threat, and this is where courage is lacking, you know, they muted it, and because the community rose up against it, everybody kept quiet. How can you be having roughly 30 billion in in what do they call it, in domiciliary accounts in your country, and there's no single money to support your naira, and everybody goes to church to shout hallelujah. That's the first thing. Second, if you make the calculation of what we import, if I ask you now to do an analysis of what you wear, anything that is foreign, out of 10 foreign goods you see are from China, not even from the US. That is good. If we have 7 out of 10 imported items from China, it's a good news. Because you will remember in 2018, was it 2018 or 2017, the Buhari administration started with, what's it called, with some race. Oh, we are going to be, whatever we buy from China now, we're going to use the yuan. We want to cut out the dollar. So if we cut out dollar from our business transaction with China, because we have identified that China is actually a good business partner. Majority of our shoes, majority of these items, the ones we can produce, the ones we cannot produce, actually come from China. So these two things, first, deliverability. Cost, let government cost its services in naira. Don't compare anything with the dollar. There's no reason why we should compare with the dollar. We are not mad. Then secondly, let us reenact or reawake our engagement with China in such a way that we'll be able, all of these importations that are done, we do yuan. And once we do that, you will see that all of these things will a bit stabilize. Then we'll be talking about stabilizing our foreign reserve. We'll be talking about the remittances from NNPC. We'll be talking about the place of the bank in doing business transparently. By the time we put all of this together, I'm not saying it's going to come back to where it was before, but at least we'll be stabilized in a reasonable point, and maybe the poor can breathe.
The charge in dollars. We have some institutions that they will ask you, if you're buying anything from us and you're paying us, we want you to pay in dollar. You mentioned domiciliary accounts where billions of dollars are stashed and the likes. How do we get out from this? How do we move forward from all of these obstacles?
We also talk about the elite. And when the elite governs the elite, making law will not be difficult. Executing it will be the problem. Because these are the people that it is very easy to get to the floor of the National Assembly if you are an elite and say, oh, we want this to be done. But executing that law, when they start peeping into what it is that people have in their domiciliary account, or it's not just about the amount, it's about how did they get there, you will discover that the high and mighty will also be indicted. And once the high and mighty are indicted in any community, a committee is set up. Once a committee is set up, you never get to see the report. That's been the practice, and it's not just limited to Nigeria. Only that, you know, anything we do here, we do it in excess, and that's why it looks as if we cannot get anything done. So that's also commendable, the step of EFCC. But you remember the prayer that Ooni of Ife prayed for the chairman. It is good to have an idea. It is good to have the willingness. But there's something they call the willpower, which is resident with the government. There's something they call the political will, which is resident with the CEO of any organization, including the government, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the governors of state. I pray they will not frustrate the effort of whosoever is trying to do anything to ensure that the elite drop what is in their hand. Now, we talked about dollarizing the economy. It's getting to a point now. You remember it started like a joke in Lagos, where a kidnapper actually asked the victim to bring US dollar. We are getting there gradually, where they will no longer collect ransom in naira. These are some of the effects, and once you do not look at it very carefully and make a scapegoat of people, in philosophy, they say that the only kind of law that people get to obey, especially in our setting, our community like this, is a law that is strictly enforced. You don't care whether people, you don't care what happens. You do to them whatever the law has written out. So I pray that the EFCC actually will be able to have the courage, but the question mark is with the elite. And I'm being honest with you. And my doubt is always in the area of courage to do to the elite what you can do to the ordinary men on the street. That's my big doubt.
All right, recently the Senate had an interactive session with President Tinubu's economic team just to go over some of the policies that's been made and why the economy is in the state that it is. Now my question for you is this: how confident are you in some of President Bola Tinubu's economic reform policies?
The problem I have with the APC economic focus is more money. And I keep driving it. I said this thing in 2015, and because people were expectant. I say if any government across the world comes to power and the first thing the government says is how do we make more money, there's going to be a problem. Because money comes from animal, and the animal, you and I. If the animals are in poverty, putting the burden of taxation on them does not give them a better life. And that is it. When you remove fuel subsidy, for example, everybody has clamored for it, remove fuel subsidy. It doesn't mean we are not paying. What it meant is that the government will no longer be paying, the people will be paying. It gives the government an opportunity to have more money. But how has that translated into better life to the people? The problem we have is that anybody can be fantastic about paperwork. But what I say is that the disconnect between paperwork and the reality of the Nigerian economy is the understanding of the livelihood level of the people. When you don't take the people into consideration, you are going to kill them. And that's exactly the problem I have with the economy. For instance, now, we talked about, we are taking away subsidy. It means that for those buying fuel at 300 or something before, they now buy at 600 or 615 or 630. You have returned money to the government. What is the government doing with the money? Any government that comes on board and does not talk about providing service to get more money is not a serious government. The essence of government, let me explain, because when you talk about government, people, it looks very far from people. The concept of government is to give money to the people and collect it from them. That's the concept. But you don't collect it from them through taxation when you have not provided service. You provide service, then they willingly pay for the service. Government has money. Government prints money. It gives it to the people. It collects it back. They have fantastic economic policy. But executing it to have effect is a problem. Why? Because you made the people at this level of poverty. Majority of people then were in poverty. Now they are in abject poverty. And you still continue to make life difficult for them by not providing service. Who will not be happy if you know that from Ibadan to Lagos, you are going to spend 3 hours in the train? No hold up, nothing. And they say you are going to pay 10,000. A lot of people will not take it. But a lot of people will still take it. Why? Happily. Because they can afford it. That is collecting money legitimately from the people. If we make deliberate investments, sir, into electricity, no matter, you and I know that no matter how they hike it, if you can get home and put on your light and it's there, you will be willing to pay. So APC government is not concentrating on providing service.
Based on the economic hardship that people are going through, the minimum wage should be pegged at something around 1 million naira.
Do you see any feasibility in that?
I think the quest for more money on the part of people that are working for the government is also a product of the fact that they do not believe that apart from more money, the government has another policy. If not, you know that if today you are paid 1 million, that 1 million in a matter, if we do not address some of these basic things that we are putting forward, that 1 million naira will become 100,000 in your hand in the next few years. So, I'm not saying that it is absolutely right to, because once you see, it is the attitude of your government that determines the attitude of the people. The labor unions are coming out to demand more money because there's nothing, they are not seeing the prospect of some of these things working, and that's the reality. Anybody can be permitted to reason from that angle. But again, that is not the solution because of the fact, let's check the percentage of those people that are working with the government or working for government. Let's check the percentage out of the 200 million people. I don't know, but I know it's just little and meager when you compare it. What happens to the other people? It means that some set of people will collect, and because of our greed level, the market woman will hear that, oh, now there's minimum wage, and before you turn your back, a good of 100 naira will become 150 naira. That has been our reality over and over and over. But again, minimum wage will continue to be a subject of discussion. Pray that whatever the NSC is seeking, they find. 1 million is not a reality, 400,000 is not a reality, 200,000 is not even a reality. But the reality that we can actually make happen for ourselves in this country is number one. The dollars that we are talking about, majority of the notes find their way into pockets of powerful men and women. How can we stop this? How can we stop corruption? People complain about, oh, people in government earn more. I say the problem is not even how much anybody earns. The problem is how much people take illegally. How can we stop this? So I pray that, like I said, that NSC, TUC get whatever they want. But the reality in our hand today is that even if you pay 500,000 naira minimum wage, in a matter of time, I was sharing with somebody between 8 and 28 of January, 8 and 28, I spent 122,000 naira on fuel. That is something that could have taken me for a whole year in past days. So now, if I am earning more, I may probably be happy that, oh, there's more money in my pocket. But of course, it's almost a pocket filled with holes, because what you'll be spending the money on, they are unimagiнаbles.